Be careful what you wish for. You might actually get it, and it might actually hurt. Now, during the campaign, of course, President Trump promised to build the giant wall between the U.S. and Mexico to, of course, try to keep out undocumented immigrants. Got to keep out the illegal aliens, man. They're bringing drugs. They're bringing crime. They're rapists. Although some, I assume, are good people. Okay. You get the idea. Now, turns out millions of people love that idea. Lots of voters across America were like, yes, build the wall, build the wall. There was a big chants at all these different rallies that he, that he held. And people were like, build the wall, build the wall, build the wall. Okay. It turns out in South Texas, though, there's a lot of people, Trump supporters, that were like, don't build the wall. No, let's not. Because it happens to be that there are a lot of these people in South Texas that are on the land that where the wall would actually go. Now, CNN did a special report on the impact this wall between U.S. and Mexico would have on people who were living in that area in the state, of course, that went overwhelmingly for Donald Trump. Let's take a look at this. Let's take a look at that clip.
Their lives were cut in half the last time the U.S. government decided it wanted to build a wall. And Ray and Deanne Loop couldn't believe it. Their family had been farming this South Texas land for nearly 100 years until the notice came the government was taking it.
I was very angry, and I just kept saying to Ray over and over again, how can they do that? How is that possible in the United States that they can do this? Put up a fence in front of our land and then keep us in here, lock us in. I didn't understand. I was floored and flabbergasted.
That was almost 10 years ago, and the Loops, like hundreds of other landowners, thought they could fight. They lost. The government paid them a settlement and took the land it needed to build this fence, cutting their farm in two.
It essentially left us no property on the U.S. side of the border wall, including my house, my residence. Everything was behind on the Mexican side of the U.S. border fence.
Unbelievably, these American citizens were locked out of their own country. Their farm ended up on the south side of the border fence, still on U.S. soil, but wedged between the fence and the border with Mexico. Their only access to the rest of the U.S., a locked gate.
Ooh, okay, so look, that's pretty awful. I mean, look, what kind of big government communist dictator would approve something like this? Oh, right, George W. Bush. And to be fair, a lot of Democrats voted for this wall, for this border fence that locked these people out of their land. So, look, again, you vote for this. I don't agree with this. My position on border walls, my position on eminent domain, it should be fairly clear by now. I'm not in favor of this. I'm not in favor of a border wall or a border fence. Never have been. And I'm definitely not in favor of using eminent domain to force people off their land, especially to build a ridiculous fence that is, of course, easily circumvented. But, of course, that's what happened. And, look, there are a lot of people, there are hundreds of different lawsuits. Back in 2006, 2007, when they built this fence. Now, look, again, a lot of those people ended up losing, and the fence got built anyway. Now, that's just a fence, though. Imagine what would happen with a wall. In fact, CNN also, again, I got to give them great credit on doing this report. They're going to show you what's going to be like with a wall. Let's take a look.
But what happened 10 years ago in mostly desolate, dry ranch land will be nothing compared to what's about to take place. President Trump's recent executive order to expand the border wall could stretch in more highly populated areas. It will bisect even more farms, golf courses, resorts, and ranches. Hundreds of miles of wall and hundreds, if not thousands of landowners will be forced to sell their property to the government. Former Customs and Border Protection Commissioner Ralph Basham says expect huge, prolonged legal battles.
Particularly in the urban areas, it's going to be very complicated. It's going to be, it's not a popular idea. And like I said, individuals are not happy when, they lose part of their property.
I don't think anybody here is just going to hand over their property.
Pat Bell is one of them.
And what happens here means everything to me.
Like almost everyone CNN talked to along this border, Bell is a Trump supporter. But she does not support a wall, especially one that would essentially move her home to the Mexican side of it. She says fences and walls don't work, which is exactly why she plans to fight for her property.
So absolutely, I would go to the people that are in charge, and you hate to say I would get a lawyer, but if it come to that issue and you had to, you would.
Bell, like thousands of other property owners along this border, nervously wait the final design, placement, and eventual legal notice that the U.S. government is coming to take away their land.
All right, so look, I'm going to be a bad person and say this because it's what popped in my head. So is it a bad thing? Is building a wall and a fence now a bad thing to this person because they end up on the Mexican side? Look, it's just a thought. But anyway, look, that whole state, you voted for that. Okay, look, if you don't believe in walls, great. At least we believe in something. We have something in common. A lot of credit for that. They don't work. We know they don't work. The giant wall is not going to work. Ask the Chinese. Ask the Chinese if walls don't work. Okay? Look, you have, look, you got things like tunnels. You've got airplanes. You've got boats to cross on places where there are beaches where you could land. And hell, even a catapult can beat this wall. I did a story a while ago where customs officers found a drug catapult used to fling pot over the border. Hey, if you don't want drugs if you don't want these drugs to come pouring in, I got a simple solution for you, and it doesn't involve a giant wall. How about you legalize, regulate, and tax drugs? That would be so simple. I mean, a lot of people would rather go to the government-approved pot shop than some sort of shady dealer, in which you don't know what's in that marijuana. You don't know what's in that cannabis. You don't know what's in those drugs. They could be laced with something. Not only that, but look, you would also, if you legalize, regulate, and tax, you would end up crushing the cartel's main source of income and even reduce the demand for heroin. Now, studies on marijuana have shown that it actually might be very helpful in getting people off of opiate addiction. People who are addicted to opiates, painkillers, well, marijuana has been shown to reduce pain and to help wean people off of these very hard drugs and heroin even. So again, you do something about the opiate epidemic, and you also kill the cartels. And you also might actually reduce the violence of which is leading tens of thousands of people to flee from South America into Mexico and into the United States, even though right now immigration is at a net zero. And look, with all the money being spent on the drug war, Mexico might instead be able to invest in its people if they also stop their drug war, which basically they're only doing it because the United States is pressuring them politically to do it. So you would be able to invest into your people, reduce poverty, which also might reduce illegal immigration, because again, one of the major reasons that people immigrate to an area is because they don't have opportunities back at home. They're facing violence, poverty, war. Maybe if you were to do something to stop that, then they wouldn't have to leave. And they wouldn't have to immigrate to another country. See, we missed a whole point. Like, these people aren't coming in from Mexico to hurt us. These people aren't coming in from Syria to harm us. Okay? These people are fleeing problems in their own homeland, and they see United States as the city, the golden city on the hill. A place where you can actually have opportunity. A place where you can actually go to escape these other issues and create a new life and to have opportunity for your families. And a lot of immigrants have done so. And a lot of immigrants have came in and they have made something of themselves, of something of their families. You might be familiar with a certain son of a certain immigrant. That would be Steve Jobs. You might be using like an iPhone or something. Well, that's because of an immigrant. Steve Jobs' dad was an immigrant who came over from, I believe it might have been Syria, if I'm not mistaken. Although I might be wrong on that. But they came there, or they came from there to escape war, poverty. So, come on. As for the drug war, look, U.S. drug policy does have a lot to do with immigration from Mexico and other South American countries. So maybe instead of using eminent domain to steal American land to build your giant stupid wall, maybe we could actually do something else. We could start with changing our drug policy, legalizing, regulating, and taxing marijuana and other drugs. Start treating it as if it's a disease and not a personal problem or not a character flaw, and start investing in our own people, and stop forcing other governments to comply with our ridiculous drug wars, drug policy. Change that. Hey everybody, thanks for watching this video. If you want to see more like this, please hit the subscribe button below. And if you want to support truly independent progressive media, please consider becoming a patron at patreon.com/TYTNation.